I love it. I love it. I love it. Look at this. This is the greatest thing I've ever seen.
Hey, I'm not surprised.
Hey, what's poppin', my homies? What's good? Hope you guys are doing blessed, having a good day, having a good week. This video is going to be a full card breakdown and prediction video for UFC 289, Amanda Nunes versus Irene Aldana. Now guys, before we get into the breakdown, as always, let's jump into the MoneyCity content. Now looking at the bets that I made on my last card, I was fortunate to land in the promised land of MoneyCity. I had 6 bets and I won 4 of them, lost 2 of them, lost with Fry and lost with Gaffer. But yeah, the other 4 did win, which resulted in just over a unit profit, a plus 29% return on investment, which is a nice job, you know, good work. And for anyone that's looking for my bets, you can always find those on my Patreon. Currently on this UFC card, I've got a 1.5% bet locked in and also a 2-piece parlay, but I'm probably going to add more. Now guys, looking at the MoneyCity comments, as always, if you see your name on the screen, you already know. That's money, pure money, let's go. As always guys, be sure to hashtag your comment if you drop any MoneyCity comments, because the comment probably won't be shown unless it's got the hashtag MoneyCity representation. For all the people that did smack their comment, as always, we always spark the blunt for the MoneyCity champions, so yeah, let's go. Let's do it again. We've got Diana Belbita taking on Maria Oliveira. So this matchup is essentially striker versus striker. Diana Belbita, she's a good kickboxer. Her output's pretty good. She did lose her first 2 matchups at flyweight, but since she dropped down to strawweight, the performances are pretty good. Even her loss to the Muay Thai fighter, Gloria DePaula, this fight was very close. You know, round 2 was pretty good. The boxing output, it was good. Now on the flip side, the Spider Girl, Maria Oliveira, also a striker but more Muay Thai. You know, more of a Muay Thai style. She was able to beat Gloria DePaula, so a common opponent between Belbita and Maria. Maria Oliveira did beat Gloria DePaula, but if you look at the performance, a lot of footwork from Maria Oliveira. She wasn't really able to use a lot of footwork against Vanessa Demopoulos because Vanessa just took her to the mat. Now guys, Belbita isn't a grappler, so I don't expect Belbita to get takedowns like Vanessa did. I also don't expect Maria Oliveira to get takedowns on Belbita. You know, it's probably going to be a striking matchup. But yeah, making a prediction with this matchup, I think Maria Oliveira is a little less composed compared to Belbita. She's more likely to fatigue based on not having the best energy expenditure. You know, she's more likely to throw a lot of output, you know, which kind of leaves her a little bit tired midway into the fight. And to be honest, Diana Belbita can kind of maintain a good output. So I'm going to side with the underdog, Diana Belbita, to win this matchup. Alright, moving into the next matchup, we've got David Dvorak taking on Steve Erceg. Now guys, with this matchup, in all fairness, it should be a pretty mandatory win for David Dvorak. When we look at the UFC career of Dvorak, initially we speak about how David Dvorak's got a good IQ, good fight IQ, you know, a chess player outside of the octagon and inside the octagon. His ability to make good decisions really shows in most of his fights. His footwork is good. His speed is good. The boxing combinations are pretty good. His grappling ability also seems to be up to scratch. He's a well-rounded flyweight that's kind of run into very good competition recently. Dvorak is on a 2-fight losing streak after losing to Matheus Nicolau and Beneil Cape. Now guys, both of those losses are fairly understandable. You know, the highest level is no joke, and it's fair to say both of those losses are pretty high level. Now on the flip side, Steve Erceg is a black belt in jiu-jitsu, doing some pretty nice work on the Australian scene. Most of his wins, or pretty much all of his wins, are by submission. So that's the prop you want to check if you're looking for like a long shot flyer. I do expect Erceg to try to get this fight to the mat. There's no secret in what he's trying to do. You know, he wants to get the back of David Dvorak. He wants to use the black belt. As for a prediction on this matchup, I've got to side with who's more well-rounded, who's more experienced. Like, the betting line's not great, and I'm probably not going to bet on this matchup, but I do favour David Dvorak to win this matchup around 75%. So give me David Dvorak to end the losing streak against pretty low level competition. Alright, moving into the next matchup, we've got Blake Bilder taking on Kyle Nelson. We're going to break down Kyle first, and guys, there's a strong case to be made that Kyle Nelson shouldn't even be in the UFC anymore. And more than likely the UFC will cut Kyle if he loses this matchup. And to be honest, even if he wins this fight and it's in boring fashion, there's still going to be a case to remove Kyle from the roster. The weaknesses in the game of Kyle Nelson are there to see. His cardio isn't good. Billy Q was able to melt him over 10 minutes. You know, that loss is kind of understandable considering Billy Q's got brilliant cardio, high output. He's got that pressure style. However, looking at other performances of Kyle, again, the same thing, the cardio's not good. Against Jai Herbert, you know, exhausted later in that fight. Against Doo Ho Choi, another fight where just gets tired. And I also think the footwork of Kyle Nelson is kind of bad. You know, kind of relies more on power than technique. Now on the flip side, Blake Bilder is a black belt in Jiu-Jitsu. You know, without a doubt, the better ground game in this matchup. His grappling's better than Kyle Nelson's. I predicted Blake to beat Shane Young as a slight underdog in his UFC debut, and to be honest, he did cover his price tag. And what Blake really showed in that fight was an ability to move his feet. If you rewatch that debut, you know, you can see just the footwork, the movement. And guys, I mentioned the footwork because that's something that Nelson does struggle with. You know, Jai Herbert loves to use a lot of footwork, and Nelson had to clinch him up against the fence because he just couldn't control the dance on the feet. The only way I can really see Nelson winning this matchup is literally just like finding a big overhand right or a big lead hook. You know, something nasty, something violent. In my opinion, he's got to stop Blake Bilder. Similar to like a Imavov and Malott. I said that if Imavov wins, it's going to be a TKO. And the reason why I think Nelson's got to find a stoppage to win the fight, like I said, the cardio is not good. His footwork is not good. His output is not better than Blake's. His ground game is not better than Blake's. There's too many advantages for Blake Bilder in this matchup. Now guys, having said all of that, go rewatch Blake Bilder prior to the UFC. He does get dropped in one of his matchups, I think against Carvalho. It's not like Blake Bilder's on some Floyd Mayweather defense. You know, he's been dropped before. And Kyle Nelson, despite all the disadvantages, he's not lacking power. If Kyle Nelson wins this matchup, more than likely, it's going to be a TKO stoppage. I kind of doubt his chances over 15 minutes. And for me personally, I'm going to be siding with Blake Bilder. There's potential for Blake to find a submission when Nelson slows down. Or there's potential for Blake to just kind of use consistent footwork the way he did in his UFC debut. He may just kind of outpoint Kyle Nelson. So yeah, give me Blake to win this matchup. Alright, moving into a matchup between Aiemann Zahabi taking on AoriQileng. Let's start the breakdown with Aiemann Zahabi. And my first question is very simple. Very simple first question. Why is it that Aiemann Zahabi has only had 5 UFC fights in 6 years? He's been with the UFC for 6 years, 5 UFC fights. So yeah, pretty inactive. Now guys, Aiemann Zahabi is a black belt in Jiu-Jitsu, but hasn't dominated any of his opponents on the mat. So although he's got the grappling advantage in this fight, how likely is it that Zahabi really puts on a grappling masterclass, considering he's not done that yet in the 6 years he's been with the UFC? Aiemann Zahabi was brutally knocked out by Ricardo Ramos a few years ago, and I rewatched that fight like today, and honestly, still one of the best UFC knockouts to this day. Now looking at Zahabi's most recent performance, which was against Ricky Tercios at the Apex, this performance wasn't anything to write home about. You know, arguably one of the worst UFC fights I've ever seen. Now the opponent, AoriQileng, primarily a Sanda practitioner. Sanda's Chinese kickboxing. Some of the best Sanda fighters are Song Yudong, Yan. AoriQileng is also a Chinese kickboxer. Now guys, there's a couple weaknesses in the game of AoriQileng. Takedown defense, no bueno. But as I mentioned at the start of the breakdown, how likely is it that Zahabi puts on a grappling masterclass? Fairly unlikely in my opinion. Another weakness for AoriQileng would be his head movement is pretty non-existent, which makes him extremely hittable. You know, Zahabi did time Draco Rodriguez with a really violent straight right hand. So yeah, there is a chance that Zahabi could also time AoriQileng in similar fashion, considering AoriQileng has poor head movement, you know, doesn't move his head, and he doesn't mind getting into a brawl. So there's a chance that Zahabi could time him. It's also worth knowing that AoriQileng did lose his first 2 UFC fights at flyweight, then won his most 2 recent fights at bantamweight. Guys, I'm gonna side with AoriQileng to win this matchup around 60% of the time. You know, Aiemann Zahabi's not active, whereas AoriQileng has over 30 professional fights. Zahabi's output is pretty low, whereas AoriQileng doesn't mind competing in a firefight. Aiemann Zahabi's got the grappling advantage but doesn't look to use his grappling, which benefits AoriQileng, seeing as that's one of his weaknesses. So yeah, give me AoriQileng to win this matchup around 60%, minus 150. Alright, moving into the next matchup, we've got Jasmine Jasudavicius taking on Miranda Maverick. Now this matchup, in my opinion, is kinda close to a mismatch. It's not a full-blown mismatch, but it's kinda close. Now the Canadian Jasmine Jasudavicius kinda believes she's like the female version of GSP, which in my opinion, she's not. You know, you look at the striking of Jasmine and it's just not that good. You know, kinda crashes forward looking to push you against the fence, because physically she's pretty strong. You know, the physicality does seem to be like the best part of her game. And if you look at her most recent performance against Gabby Fernandez, this is exactly what she wants to do. You know, she wants to get her opponent to the mat and essentially win rounds based on ground and pound and control. Now here's the problem for Jasmine. Miranda Maverick ain't no scrub. You know what I'm saying? Miranda's very well rounded. A solid wrestler offensively. Her defensive wrestling does need a little bit of work, but still a good grappler. A brown belt in jiu-jitsu, solid Muay Thai striking. She's a southpaw Muay Thai striker. You know, Jasmine doesn't have the speed advantage. She doesn't have the striking advantage. Her feints and setups aren't really where they need to be in order to kind of keep Miranda guessing. In my opinion, Miranda's going to win this matchup pretty easily. Not easily, but comfortably. You know, it's not going to be a sweaty fight. It's not going to be close. The only way I can really see Jasmine winning this fight is just ground control. You know, essentially what Erceg Nurmagomedov did to Miranda. But Jasmine's not Erceg Nurmagomedov. So give me Miranda to win this matchup. I think it's a good fight. I think she's going to win pretty comfortably. Alright, moving into the next matchup, we've got Nassourdine Imavov taking on Chris Curtis. Now this matchup is definitely a matchup that I'm excited to see this weekend. Nassourdine is essentially the middleweight version of Ciryl Gane. He's got the light footwork, super agile, does really well at managing range between him and his opponent, which is exactly what Ciryl Gane does. Now, Nassourdine didn't manage range well against Sean Strickland. You know, this fight was contested in a Sean Strickland range. It was contested in the pocket. You know, where Sean Strickland just popped the jab, popped the 1-2. Nassourdine was put in a fight that he hadn't yet experienced in the UFC. However, prior to the matchup against Sean Strickland, it's safe to say that Nassourdine has done extremely well at implementing his style. You know, as we discussed, his style is speed, footwork, management of range, lightness, controlling the opponent with some really nice Muay Thai kicks. Now on the flip side, the action man, Chris Curtis. It's safe to say that Chris Curtis always has that one-hitter quitter. You know, he's got the ability to stop the fight with nasty, violent KO power. It's also fair to say that before Chris Curtis ends the fight with KO power, typically he's losing the fight. You know, he's behind on the scorecard because his output isn't high. He's not really looking to win decisions. You know, he's looking to starch the opponent. So guys, there's really two different styles with this matchup. Two very, very different styles, which gives us a really fun matchup. We know that Nassourdine has the cat and mouse style. You know, he's the mouse, you're the cat. The mouse wants to be lightning fast, you know, wants to be slick, wants to keep the cat guessing. Whereas the cat just needs one moment. You know what I'm saying? Just needs that one moment to catch the mouse. I've recently cashed 2 underdog tickets against Chris Curtis. I took Jack Hermanson at plus money. I took KG at plus money. I think this fight will look pretty similar to the fight against Jack Hermansson, where essentially Jack was just able to keep Chris at the end of the Muay Thai kicks. And guys, don't forget, Jack Hermansson isn't even a striker. This guy's a wrestler. If a wrestler can outpoint you, yeah, give me one of the best middleweight strikers to outpoint Chris Curtis. Chris Curtis is always going to have the one-hitter quitter. He's always going to be losing the fight and then just bang, dusted, finds that KO. So really, if you want to bet Chris, just look at the KO prop. You know, forget the money line, forget submission, forget decision. Look at the KO prop. But in my opinion, that's a losing prop. I think Nassourdine is going to win this matchup. If you waited to smoke with me, amen. If you've been smoking this whole time, that's a double amen. If you're not a smoker but you enjoy the smoke breaks, you already know that's a triple amen. Let's go. Guys, let's speak about something that should either make people mad or some people might agree with what I'm saying, but I ain't trying to make anyone mad with this smoke break, but there will be a strong 50% that disagree or more. But yeah, disagreeable content can sometimes be good. Not all the time, but sometimes. Kai Kara France versus Amir Albazi was not a robbery. Changed my mind. 50% of people literally just said, F you, Lay. F you, man. Guys, I'm yet to rewatch the main event if I'm being honest, but from what I remember, round 4 and round 5 are quite clearly Kai Kara's rounds. Round 1 and round 3, in my opinion, these rounds are Amir Albazi rounds. The ground and pound from Kai in round 3, it wasn't enough to steal back the round. You know, Amir was extremely close to stopping the fight. Kai was kinda close to tapping or going to sleep. So yeah, round 3 is for Amir. Round 1 is for Amir. Round 4 and round 5, those are Kai rounds. So yeah, I think the fight comes down to round 2 and I can't really remember that round. So I have to go back and rewatch it, but yeah, why are people saying it's a robbery? It's not a robbery. If round 1 and round 3 are for Albazi and round 4 and round 5 is for Kai, it's not a robbery. The only way it can really be a robbery is if round 2 was a clear round for Kai, which it wasn't. Yeah, in my opinion, it's not a robbery. You know, it was a good main event, very close. But yeah, shout out to the legalized gangsters, the bookmakers. They really lined those fights last week. Very, very accurate. You could speak about a couple fights that weren't lined too good, but for the most part, the accuracy was pretty good. And even though they're gangsters and they're doing what they do, I'm still gonna win. I'm still gonna win. You know what I'm saying? So let's jump into this card. Alright, moving into the next matchup, we've got Eryk taking on Marc-Andre Barriault. Now guys, this matchup, it should be a banger. You've got your boy, Eryk, who's basically a UFC veteran at this point. Now guys, Eryk has power for days, but he doesn't have cardio for days. We know that when you throw a lot of heat, it's taxing on the cardiovascular system. Eryk did look really good in his most recent performance against Kyle Dorcas. I'm not really sure how highly we can regard that win, but yeah, still a good win for Eryk. Now guys, Eryk isn't a grappler by trade, but he is a brown belt in jiu-jitsu. I wouldn't be totally shocked if he out-grappled Marc-Andre, but more than likely, he's not got the cardio to grapple round in, round out. On the flip side, you've got the power bar, Marc-Andre Barriault. Marc has definitely struggled with grapplers, you know, such as Andrew Sanchez put a wrestling performance on him. Krzysztof Jotko was able to clinch up. Jun Park put on a nice grappling performance. Anthony Hernandez was also able to kind of melt Marc-Andre Barriault, and it's kind of fair to say that Marc-Andre needs to kind of work on his grappling. Now, analysing the positives in Marc-Andre's game, it's fair to say that his pressure is really good. You know, also look at the lead hand of Marc-Andre. He really works off the lead hand. I think this matchup really could go either way. You know, for me personally, I'm gonna side with Marc-Andre Barriault to melt Eryk. Now guys, there is going to be potential for Eryk to win this fight by TKO because he's powerful. Right, there's definitely potential for that, and there's also potential for Eryk to win round 1, but I kind of think Marc-Andre's gonna kind of melt him. I think he's gonna bully him in round 2, round 3. That's really what Marc-Andre's all about. You know, it's cardio, it's output, it's pressure, and it's not like it always works, because it doesn't always work, but against Eryk, I think it's going to work. So yeah, that's going to be my pick. I'll side with the power bar, Marc-Andre. Moving into the next matchup, we've got Dan Ige taking on Nate the Train. And this is an absolute banger. If you've got tickets to this event, guys, I'm telling you, you don't want to be queuing up for a Canadian beer when both of these guys are walking to the octagon. Now guys, Dan Ige is without a doubt one of the best featherweights on the planet. He's a black belt in jiu-jitsu and he's always got the option to grapple with the opponent. And to be honest, quite a lot of the time, Dan Ige is happy to exercise that option. You know, he's happy to grapple. He's a really good grappler. However, when you look at the striking of Dan Ige, it's really sharp. It's quick, it's technical, it's on a really good level. I remember being at the O2 Arena when Masvidal fought Till and Dan Ige fought Danny Henry. And that fight was like the easiest money I've ever made. Dusted Danny Henry. Now the opponent, Nate the Train, this guy's just a madman. You know what I'm saying? Just a pure madman. Is he going to be technically better than Dan Ige? Absolutely not. Does the heart and determination and toughness of Nate give him a good chance against Dan Ige despite the technical disadvantage? In my opinion, yes it does. Because Nate's toughness is going to give him a chance against any opponent. You know, that's just who Nate is. Even if Nate's getting beat up, eventually the fight can become a dogfight. And Nate likes that fight. Guys, anytime you put yourself into a brawl, there's a chance you can lose the brawl. Even if you prefer those exchanges more than your opponent, there's still a chance you can lose those fight-ending exchanges. Now, if you said to me who's more likely to win this fight, my answer would be Dan Ige. However, if you ask me a different question, if you ask me like, well, should I bet on Dan Ige? My answer would be no. For the simple reason that in gambling, unless you're a losing gambler, we understand the odds are most important. Only losing gamblers disregard the odds. Make that known, guys. If you see someone speaking about it doesn't matter about the odds, it's about who wins, understand that person is a loser. The odds do matter. And in my opinion, Dan Ige wins this fight around 65% of the time, which is like minus 186. So I'm not going to bet on minus 260, which is like, what, 72%? If I'm going to make a bet on this matchup, then my bet would be the toughness and determination and willingness of the big underdog. Because if that shows, then the fight could be closer than what the odds are saying. And that's how you gamble. However, if you're somebody that does believe Dan Ige would win this fight 72% of the time or over 72% of the time, then you can make a bet on Dan Ige. But in my opinion, I think that's too much. So give me the big underdog, Nate the Train, to win this matchup. Moving into the next matchup, we've got Mike Malott taking on Adam Fugitt. Essentially, guys, what you've got is striker versus grappler. Mike Malott being the high-level black belt in jiu-jitsu and Adam Fugitt being the striker. So we know what to expect with this matchup. We know that Adam Fugitt wants to avoid the grappling. We know that Adam wants a striking matchup against Mike Malott. And that's not to say that Adam Fugitt has bad grappling, because when you look at the complete dusteration of his last opponent, which did take place on the mat, it's fair to say that Adam Fugitt is a decent grappler. But if we're going to compare the grappling of Adam Fugitt to Mike Malott, in my opinion, there's no comparison. Mike Malott is by far a much better jiu-jitsu player. Now guys, Mike Malott doesn't have bad striking, because when you look at the work against Mickey Gall, the way he set him down, you can be impressed with that work. But Mike Malott shouldn't really be looking to strike too much in this matchup. You always want to take the path of least resistance. When you take the path of least resistance, you're essentially giving yourself the best chance possible. Now the path of least resistance for Mike Malott would be jiu-jitsu. We want to grapple against Adam Fugitt. My prediction with this matchup, I'm going to side with Mike Malott to find a submission against Adam Fugitt round 1 or round 2. More than likely round 1. Guys, I've not been like the biggest Mike Malott believer up until this point. I went against him on the Contender and I've picked against him in all of his UFC fights. And I've got all of those fights wrong. So yeah, if I pick Mike Malott now and he loses, then that's just like my bogey fighter. But yeah, I'm going to side with Mike Malott in Canada to essentially get Adam Fugitt to the mat early. And once he does, I think it's a wrap. So yeah, give me Mike Malott. Moving into the co-main event, and what a great co-main event. We've got Charles do Bronx Oliveira versus Beneil Dariush. Guys, the jiu-jitsu credentials in this matchup is just off the charts. The jiu-jitsu fans are looking at this fight literally going crazy. You know, the grappling transitions that we're potentially going to get. Insane. For those of you that don't know, Beneil Dariush is literally one of the most credentialed jiu-jitsu players in the UFC. And I'm sure most of you know that Charles Oliveira has the most submission wins in UFC history. I think Beneil has better wrestling than Charles Oliveira, and I also think that Benny can go to the mat with Oliveira and compete in some really nice grappling transitions, which is something that Chandler, Gaethje and Poirier couldn't do. However, guys, when I think about the striking with this matchup, I really favour Charles Oliveira. And I actually can't wait to see whether or not I'm right with my striking prediction. Because quite a few people I've spoken to this week think Beneil is going to drop Charles Oliveira. And I'm like, what? Beneil Dariush? Stop it. Just stop it. Guys, Charles Oliveira's got excellent Muay Thai. He really marches forward and utilises some nasty kicks. His striking defense isn't the best, but I don't really expect Beneil to show us that weakness. I expect Beneil to grapple with Oliveira, not win a striking matchup. This is a really good co-main event, and I absolutely will not be betting this matchup. I'll be blazing a fat blunt, ready to watch the madness unfold. But yeah, give me do Bronx. Give me do Bronx all day. Let's go. Alright, moving into the main event, we've got Amanda the GOAT Nunes taking on Irene Aldana. Now this main event is a good main event. For anyone that's thinking this main event is a bad one, I gotta disagree. You've literally got the best women's mixed martial artist against one of the best boxers. This is a quality main event, and I'm actually very interested to see whether or not Amanda Nunes is still as hungry as she used to be. Guys, it's natural for humans to become less hungry once they've achieved their goals. It's natural. So if Amanda Nunes isn't training like she used to train, if Amanda Nunes is a lesser version of herself, it's really not going to be shocking information to see. If anything, it's going to be realistic information. On the flip side, Irene Aldana, there's no need to think about Aldana's hunger. We know that Aldana is yet to achieve. We know she wants the title. She's still on the journey. Being on the journey keeps you hungry. But getting to the top of the mountain, you know, you put your feet up. Tough journey, you know. Smoke a blunt, put your feet up. Guys, it's fair to say there's potentially a hunger difference in this matchup. And anytime you're not 100% invested as a fighter, it's really dangerous. You can get hurt quite badly if you're skipping training, not working as much as you used to work. And I'm not saying that's what Amanda's doing, but I'm just asking the question. Because as I mentioned, once we achieve our goals, it's human nature to just relax. It's human nature not to do as much when you feel that you've completed the game. If Juliana Pena can beat Amanda Nunes to the punch, if Juliana Pena can smack Amanda Nunes with the jab, guys, I'm telling you, best believe Irene Aldana will show us whether or not Nunes is on point. If Nunes is a lesser version of herself, I'm telling you, Irene Aldana is ready for gold. She's a really nasty Mexican boxer. Beautiful jab, beautiful combinations, powerful, technical, quick. Guys, in my opinion, I think 65-35 in favour of Nunes is pretty fair. And because of that, give me the big underdog. Give me Irene Aldana to compete for 25 minutes. Even if she goes down 2-0 on the scorecards, we've got another 15 minutes to be had. Would I be shocked if Nunes got tired and Aldana starts to smack her with the jab, starts to dust her with the 1-2? I really wouldn't be shocked. I really wouldn't. As a gambler, I think it's dog or pass. Just based on the circumstances. You know, based on Amanda Nunes having millions in her bank account, the fact she's got a family, the fact she's a mother, the fact that she's 35 years old, the fact that she was dealing with knee injuries against Pena in the first fight, the fact that she's achieved everything that she wants to achieve. All of these things combined, I have to line it 65-35. And because of all of that, I'm going to side with the big underdog Irene Aldana to win this matchup. I've not got a bet on the main event yet, but looking at the odds, I might pull the trigger. Alright guys, I've really enjoyed breaking down UFC 289. I think the Canadians are going to have a great time at this event. If you want all the bets that I'm personally making on this card, the only way to do that is to join my Patreon. We've also got a really good Discord. But yeah guys, let me know, are you taking Amanda Nunes? Are you taking Aldana? What's your co-main event prediction? What's your MoneyCity plays? Drop it all down below. And as always, keep your eyes to the sky, never glued to your shoes. Das Mac Miller. Peace.